Fox Elder.
Yeah.
Those flying things.
That's right. Fox Elder Road.
Yeah. Fox Elder broken. Stop. I have a lot of them around my day. Ladybugs.
Yeah.
Small.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the October 24th special meeting of the Carroll Town Board. I'll go ahead and open the meeting, and I guess we'll start with a pledge to the flag.
My allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I'll open with opportunity for anyone to speak to the board or privilege of the floor. Anybody wants to speak? Great, okay. Move on, so did you want to speak, Barry?
Yeah, I think they should, because I
Okay.
see you only have 2 items on the agenda,
That's correct.
and I wanted to speak to the first one. And I don't,
Okay.
I shouldn't be allowed to talk to it when you're discussing it, so I need to
Okay.
put my sentence in ahead of time.
Great, can you stand over like right there and I'll,
Over there.
that'd be great.
Okay,
So this is Secret Road, is that what? Is that the first one, Barry? Is it the budget or the Equus Road? The budget or the Equus Road that you're talking?
Equus Road.
That's what-
Now, Eacros Road is what I had in mind in speaking about. I see that the town has accepted or had put out an RFP and got bids for this job. And my comments are that, one, I don't like what the engineers have done or what the bids are. And so I think that the town board should refuse both bids. And the reason being that, and then also have at the same time, have the engineers that you had or some other engineers put out a new RFP, which we would get better bids on. And I think that I see that the bids are so much that it's a ridiculous thing to do out there based upon the road, the stream, the tax base, all of these things. So I think we need to stay within our grant funds and not try to go do more than that. And if the board would like to see a similar road crossing or culvert pipe that's been done, there's one over on Gunderman Road in Danby, just off Route 96. So it's very easy to get to, very easy to see. And it's done like I think the one should be done up on Eacros Road with the pipe, the existing pipe that's there, but use rock instead of cement. And we might even have to reposition the pipe. I don't know. I don't know how it is for vertical down in the stream better now. I need to look a lot more close to that, but it looks terrible to me. And then if our engineers are the ones that you've had in the past don't seem to think they can do that, then there are other engineers out there that can. Obviously, the one on Gunderman Road was done by other engineers than the ones we had. And so that's just my sentiments about the thing. I think it's way, way too costly the way it's done now, and we shouldn't accept the bids.
Okay, thank you, Barry.
You're welcome.
Could I ask Barry, is it appropriate for me to
No.
ask Barry a couple of questions?
What's that?
Is it appropriate for me to ask Barry a couple of questions?
If you want to ask them a question.
What do you mean by better bids? Just lower cost?
Yeah, well, bids based upon rock instead of concrete and at a much lower cost. I think these bids were way exorbitant for what we're gonna do.
Do you have an idea when the Cumberland Road Bridge was done, just off the top of your head? Or-
Oh, within the last 4 months.
Oh, okay,
It's a recent one, so
thank you.
it's new.
Where is the number?
It's in right in the middle of the Danby, right near the fire station. You know where the fire station is on Route 96? Thunderman Road comes right in there, and it's just barely up from Thunderman.
Great, okay, thank you, Barry.
You're welcome.
So I would like to begin with the board discussion of that item. So we did receive two bids, and the recommendation went to the low bid, which was $373,000. And I did meet with our engineer and Superintendent Spencer on Friday, and we talked about it. And I've shared that with you, my thoughts and some information. So, and just to review, did everybody see what I was saying? So, okay, good. So I'll just verbally describe the history of the project. So in 2018, in the fall, the twin culverts that were there before failed, and the road was closed due to collapsing roadway.
Mark, can you speak up a little bit or move the mic? It's a little hard to hear.
Oh, wow, really? Sorry. Is that better? Just getting my screen out of the
Yes.
way? Okay,
Yes.
okay.
And you're talking about it.
So, right away, Cindy installed a 13-foot culvert, which is what was available at the time. While that project was underway, we received, just as it started, we received the WQIP grant from the state. We also received a Bridge New York grant for the same approximate amount for the same project, which we've declined because we had dual grants. So at any rate, if anybody's been out there to look at it, and I did send pictures, that the large culvert has been installed. T.G. Miller did assist with engineering and advising on positioning of the culvert. It was recognized that was undersized, and so then that became an issue for the WQIP grant because it was a lower capacity than required by the grant. The grant was all about encouraging stream passage of aquatic organisms, and so and I posted a picture after an afternoon rain event that shows the culvert about 2/3 full and belching water. So you can see there's high flow and through the culvert when there's a significant rainstorm. So at any rate, and we've invested about $80,000 in culvert materials and labor, and the grant required a 25% match. So we've met that match amount. A year or two later, T.G. Miller developed cost estimates for the various options, and we were talking with DEC about how we could modify the existing project to meet the requirements that they wanted to see for the grant. One was to add a secondary culvert, 8-foot culvert, but that would involve some deconstruction and of the existing concrete work and then re-concrete work. So the other option was under that scenario, we could imagine arguing for our investment to be applied to the project. The next two scenarios would be a complete replacement, so we would lose our $80,000 investment. One was to replace it with the 13-footer with a 20-foot span aluminum culvert for, at that point, estimated $465,000. And then the other option was to do a concrete culvert, 20-foot span, estimated at $580,000 installed price. So we discussed it, and with the DEC and with the engineer, Don D. Harner, T.G. Miller, and opted for option one to retain the existing culvert and work with the DEC on that, install a secondary culvert. Then this last summer, we met on site with the DEC. I was there, Bob Spencer was there, and Bill Guggenheim, two people from the DEC. So we basically made the argument that it would be better to invest in the stream rather than the deconstruction of the existing culvert, and that the landscape there, when there is high water flow, it allows the water to ford pretty gently over the road, so they were willing to consider that, but did want, were concerned about with the high flow through the pipe that it would be cleansed, basically, and so they wanted some baffles installed, so that's where we were, you know, negotiating with DEC for the project. So we put out the bid that was due October 13th, and the bid that I mentioned before was the low bid. So after conferring with Bob and Dondi on Friday, our recommendation is also to reject both bids. For a couple reasons. The bids, we're hoping that without the added costs required for winter work, as the season goes on, it requires additional effort and material for working in colder weather. And also we may be able to attract more bids. So our recommendation to the board is to reject both bids and immediately rebid the project for 2023 construction. And so that's our recommendation. So are there any questions before I offer a resolution?
Is there any basis to assume that the bids would be lower next summer?
Well, we only got 2 bids, so if we got more bids, that increases the probability that they would be lower. The reason they might be lower is because you don't have to have the blankets and things to keep the concrete warm while it's curing. If we go with the concrete route, who knows, we may. Gary mentioned another option with rocks. I don't know if he's mentioned that to Dondi Herner, but we can discuss that. But we do have an engineered plan that's been fairly carefully gone over. There's been structural issues with doing the utmost to ensure that the blocks are stable. It's a very vertical base on each end. So I'm all ears about plans, but I do, so my recommendation is that we do push this forward immediately and however we rework it, get it out to bid again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for that. I just wanted to
What that,
just the assumption that the bids would be less, other
Right.
than just
no, it's a good question because
the uncertainty.
if we don't think that's true, then maybe it makes sense to
Yeah, but it
just
just
prove
seems,
this bid.
but it just seems, this bid, the town would then have to kick in like $100,000.
More, 125.
Well,
But
a good chunk of change.
But we get a $250,000 grant.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm all for rejecting the bids and redoing it, but just wanted to ask that question.
We will have to extend the grant, but we can do that.
Yeah.
Mark, highway put in the first culvert, right?
Yeah.
Is there any possibility of highway doing the rest of the work?
I asked that question and Bob felt like it should all be contracted out. They don't, I guess when the work was done originally, it was, there was county personnel there and so his recommendation would be was to bid it out for contract. But that's something we could discuss.
Given the recent initial purchase of new equipment,
Yeah.
it's something I would be interested in pursuing.
Yeah.
Possible.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, did you check with the DEC? Is the DEC okay with putting it off then?
I think they would be, yes, is the answer. I mean, so we were having to get permission to construct this late in the season. So we're already past the normal industry that, so. Yeah, so I think they'll be very good with that. We'll need to get, easements from landowners removed, if those expire at the end of this year, so,
There shouldn't be any problem with that, is there?
pardon me?
There shouldn't be any problem.
Yeah, I don't think so. So, any other thoughts or questions? I'll just read the resolution that I drafted. Title is rejected for Ecruz Culvert Replacement Project, whereas the winning bid for Ecruz Culvert Replacement Project for December 2022 completion is greater than anticipated, and whereas rebidding the project for spring summer 2023 construction should reduce costs associated with late season work, therefore be it resolved, the Caroline Town Board hereby rejects both bids received at the October 13th, 2022 bid opening and recommends that the project be rebid as soon as practicable for spring summer 2023 construction with final completion no later than September 30th, 2023. Seconded by Cal, and further discussion. I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Great. Thank you. So the reason I called the meeting tonight is because if we were to approve one of these bids, it was imperative that we get things moving as fast as possible. So I apologize for the additional meeting. With that, I would like to, I realized a spreadsheet thing when I was, when we were at the last budget workshop. So, and I have, I received, budget requests from Steveville and Brookendale Fire Department.
Good.
So I'm
They were as expected.
Hmm?
They were as expected.
pretty close, yeah. So for Speedsville, I will, so I guess I'll offer a single resolution for 3 changes. So for SF 3410.413, which is the expenditure for Speedsville Fire Company Fire Protection Services. That was originally at in the at 55,896, and I will modify that to $57,100.
Well, that's a big increase.
Okay.
That's a big increase.
Yeah, just a little bit. I think they stayed flat last year, and and then for SF 3410.414 Brookendale Fire Protection Services, that changes from 21,410 to 2990. So they actually stayed flat. And then the third budget adjustment for the preliminary budget is A 1480.4, which is public information contractual, and increased that $500 from $1,500 to $2,000. So that's just based on looking at current expenditures. And
What is public information contractual again?
that's that's like
We have to make public announcement.
yeah, so it's the webmaster. Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, so it's published notices that we put in the paper, and then the webmaster fee. And then the final, this is significant, so I'm gonna recommend, so at the last, the spreadsheet had not included the adjustments that we've made to the highway, the DA budget. So those were increases in the DA 5110.4 and DA 5142.4 lines. So I put those numbers in, as they should be. And then with that. So here, I guess I want to use, I'll go to this, share my screen here. So I can go over it with everybody. So let's see. Oh, there. So here's the, I will try to navigate this spreadsheet gracefully. Going to the bottom with all the calculations. So this, the table that's on the screen now are my estimates of the reserve funds and the fund balance for A fund, like A fund and DA fund balance in the pink. And so, and then on the right hand outside of the chart, I calculated the what they represent as a percentage of the budgeted expenditures. And so you can see that the numbers are fairly healthy. They're all well above the recommended, 20% of budgeted expenditures. And so, and this takes into account using this 2022 levy offset, uses $176,000 to offset the current levy amount to keep the levy flat, so that our levy is the same as last year. So if you, and that's in here, the lower box is, there's the 176,000 applied. And so just so here's the 22 levy. You can see they are approximately equivalent, off by $159, but so that keeps the levy really
Flat.
perfectly flat.
So that shouldn't be.
That puts us 5% below the tax cap. And I think it doesn't endanger our fund balance at all. And also the reason I expended the fund balance to from the DA fund balance in order to maximize the funds in the A fund because of the highway barn project, which is an A fund project.
That's an A fund project?
Yeah,
Oh, good idea.
so, yeah. And you see, it leaves. So if from these estimates, there'd be 571,000 in the DA fund balance, 507,000 in the A fund balance. And this I did exclude ARPA funds, so the ARPA funds are removed from these calculations. They're not warping it, so. And I checked with the bookkeeper today, and she said she agreed that this was a sound move. So that my proposal would be to apply $176,000 of fund balance to keep the levy flat. And I did do, I don't know if you remember, but either last year or the year before, somebody asked about, that this seems like a really high, amount of fund balance used. And I looked over the last 20 years, and the average, it varies because it sort of evens things out over years, but the average is 173,000. So this is pretty close to what the average amount used is. So that is my recommendation. So in addition to the expenditure line changes, I would also like to offer this change. which totaled like $55,000 originally when we did the. So a little higher. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, I will offer a resolution for those 4 changes. It's actually 5 changes, so Leesville Fire, Brookendale Fire, the public information contractual, and then the I don't know if I articulated them, but anyway, the way I had it before was that the A fund, I believe, was 25,000 and the DA fund was 30,000. And so now I'm altering those to be 0 and 176,000. So. And everybody comfortable with where we end up with the levy and
Yeah.
okay,
That's great.
So that means the tax rate goes down because we got a little more assessed value, right?
tax rate will go down because the assessed value always goes up a little bit. The total assessed value goes up a little bit, so tax rates will go down. And I think in my simple calculation, I can't remember. It did show. It also went down.
Yeah, I think assessed value is up 2.1% or something like that.
So, okay, I'd like to call for a vote. I'm gonna get a second on that resolution. Tim seconded. Further discussion? So all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Great. And that's what we have for tonight, folks. So unless anybody has something, I will offer a motion to adjourn. Seconded by Kate. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. And Catherine, I really hope you feel better soon.
Me too.
Oh, gosh. Oh, my gosh.
It's been 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, considering people are still, or I think we're still recording, so I'll talk about my
Yeah,
health.
I'm shutting things down now.
All right, bye, everybody. Good night.
Hi, Velvet. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you, Velvet.
Bye.